Then we had to, of course, fight the BC bush, although Don always just took off a little every time we went through.
Yeah.
So when you probably have 5 or 6 trips up to get all your supplies and everything else for the length of time. But Waddington was a bit further away and took a little more getting to. We did go in from the interior on one occasion.
Yes, and you did this with horse.
Yes.
Well,
they didn't go right into Waddington itself, but got close to it.
well, I think we're coming to photographs of that. Here's another one.
Yes, this one is taken from the top of Munday.
Yeah,
looking
you have a
across the
mountain named after you.
Yes.
Mount Munday, which is
They wanted
close
us
by.
to have Waddington, but we thought Waddington was the original explorer, and certainly he should. Then this is the Tigman group here.
Yes, and here is Mount Munday.
Yes, that's right. Has a very nice ice fall on it.
Yeah, and ice falls. Here is a photograph.
Oh yes, that was a lovely one. But you have to be very cautious, of course, and know what you're doing with snow, because it changes, and you're cutting steps, taking away the loose snow, and then making steps so that you can get higher up.
Were you ever afraid when you were going up?
Afraid of it?
Yes.
Oh no, no.
It looks very spectacular.
It is spectacular.
There's
Oh,
another.
that was a lovely ice fall, ice wall rather. A very nice one.
It looks very
So
striking.
you can see the different areas of snow, and then the dirt that blows onto the tops of the glaciers, and you can tell.
Wasn't it dangerous going along?
Not if you know what you're doing. It isn't. You have to know your ice falls, of course, particularly, and the bridges over the crevasses. You have to know when they're safe or not. And your ice axe, of course, is a great help, because you can test your snow.
Yeah. What sort of equipment would you carry in your pack then?
Depends. Just for a climb, we'd have an extra sweater or a jacket, and your food and your camera equipment, chiefly, and your rope.
Yes.
And then you just pick it out and use it wherever you need it.
For a climb such as into Waddington, because you went to that area for a number of years,
Yes.
what would you have in your pack?
You mean from the
Food,
start, so
yes,
to speak?
sort of.
Well, you'd have to take everything you need, probably to go over a list of food that you take for that length of time. It would take rather a long time here. But we saw to it that we had dried fruit. I dried all my own apples, for instance, here, and we could get quite good potatoes if you wanted, and rice, of course, was a very important one. So it was. I never found the food a problem, really.
And you made your own tents?
Yes.
Out of silk, you were saying.
Sail silk, it's called. Yes, Don designed them, and so I just cut them out and sewed them up and put clips on them, and they stood every weather we had.
It's incredible. And you made your own mountain clothes, you mentioned.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Right, you mentioned earlier about getting into Waddington by...
From a different route,
yes, from
when
the
you have
interior, and there we have a photograph.
rivers to cross like that, it's good to have a pack train with you.
Yes.
I like a pack train tremendously, whether I'm riding with it or whether I'm walking with it.
Yes.
And it's great fun riding with it, because every horse is an individual. They're quite lovely.
Yes.
And it's surprising the strength they have of tackling very swift water with such a very rough underground, so to speak, just loose rocks.
Great.
But they were very good.
You have a spectacular picture
this is,
here of a...
This is actually a government picture, but I have one similar to it. There's Waddington there and the main glacier coming up. And this little piece of ground there was known as Glacier Island.
Yes.
And Waddington, of course. And so we had a base camp just at the turn of the glacier here too. So we could go out on different climbs in the same area.
Yes. You never climbed the summit of Waddington.
The main tower.
The main tower.
Climbed, not quite, pretty nearly to it.
But you got
it was
very
just
close.
too far.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, some of the other things
I'm really glad in some ways, because when we climbed the northwest summit, was the reason that we got that spectacular picture of the main tower.
Yes, yes. And this, you
We
said
have
you'd
some of the-
like a serac, which,
Yes,
could you
the
tell
big-
us what a serac is?
Well, they're just like ice pinnacles standing up.
Yeah.
in the-
And there's another
Yes,
one.
and
Spectacular
these were very
one.
beautiful ice
Yes.
work in this one. It's on the Franklin
Yes.
Glacier. And oh, they're so interesting to explore through too.
Yes. And well, this is
And that's a
another
good one,
one you
too,
said
yes.
that you enjoyed very
Yes.
much.
You have to really know what you're doing, because some people might want to walk right out onto
Mm-hmm.
the point there, and it's too far.
It's very
test it.
hazardous.
It's always best to try it and not test the itself. Get to an area where you can see it clearly, and then know how far it's safe to go.
Yes. And this looks
Oh, yes,
rather
those
wild
are-
also.
Those are very interesting seracs.
Yeah. Well,
They're all leaning in the same direction.
what was a very memorable memory, do you think, with regard to your mountain climbing? Was it the...
Oh, there have been so many of them. Of course, Waddington we put so many years into, and it was very dear to us.
Yes.
Going in from the coast, which was a difficult way in, and in from the interior.
Yeah.
And you saw it from different angles, too.
Yes. I don't think there were many women that were involved in mountain
Not
climbing.
in those days they were. I think they're probably more climbing. Unfortunately, I'm not doing the climbing now, naturally, that I used to. But there are quite a lot of climbers now.
But you were quite a pioneer among the other climb you did. You were the first woman at Mount Robson.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
that was a thrill. That was one of the Alpine Club camps.
Yes, yes.
And I was very lucky to have been on it, too, because everybody who wanted to climb Robson, any big mountain at camp like that, that's the Alpine Club camp.
Yes.
You put your name down as wanting to go, and then it's chosen by the climbing committee
Yes.
who does it. And so you go eagerly after the climbing lists are up
Yeah.
and find out whether you're on it, and you were. And I
Wow.
was so glad.
Well, that wasn't the only first that you've been up. I understood you went up many coastal
Yes,
mountains, the first person
Yeah.
up there.
Well, most of them were first because nobody had been into the different areas.
Yes. Right. Well, what do you do now?
What do I do now?
Yes.
I don't climb mountains, unfortunately. No, I just have a little garden, which I'm afraid isn't nearly as good as 90% of the gardens around me. But I keep myself busy with Girl Guides and weekends going out.
Mm-hmm. Well,
And I've been on a number of trips into the Rockies and the Selkirks with my daughter.
you still lead a very, very busy life.
Oh, I'm very busy, yes, all the time.
Well, I think you've made a real contribution to mountaineering with your husband, and he has this to say about you in his book. He was giving thanks to various people who had helped him, and he said, "Foremost among these ranks, my wife Phyllis, whose unquenchable enthusiasm, unfailing fortitude, unflinchable courage and devotion not only made our trips possible, but make them precious memories." Thank you, Phil Munday, for sharing your memories with us today. This has been Our Pioneers and Neighbors. I've been talking with Phil Munday. I'm Olga Ruskin.